What if MrBeast somehow started his own country? Let's assume that all 200 million of his subscribers were suddenly teleported to his home state of North Carolina, with Jimmy as head of state. Will he lead a rich and prosperous nation, or will it devolve into complete anarchy? For starters, let's call this hypothetical country Beast Kingdom. Jimmy will become king and the first YouTuber head of state. This will make for a really viral video like I bought an entire nation, but he can continue to use his country as a content machine, like Last to Leave Country Keeps It or I Declared War on America, allowing him to put out banger after banger. Now, the flag of Beast Kingdom will look like this as seen in the video 7 Days Stranded at Sea, and the national motto will be subscribe for a cookie, a statement that can actually become reality if he becomes king of an entire country. Here's the national anthem, which may sound pretty familiar. This song will definitely go up there as one of the greatest national anthems of all time, even surpassing Russia. The capital city will be MrBeast's headquarters and hometown, Greenville. His headquarters will serve as the White House or the Capitol building of Jimmy's nation. As revealed in a studio tour, he literally sleeps in his office, so it makes sense for this location to become the official government building. He also bought an entire neighborhood for his employees there, no joke. The city's name will probably stay as Greenville unless Chandler becomes mayor, in which case he might rename it to Jeff. Speaking of his friends, they will receive high-profile government roles. They will probably not do much of the policy making or anything important for that matter. They will just serve as symbolic figureheads decorated with royal titles like Prince, Duke, or whatever Jimmy feels. Because let's face it, a bunch of 20-something-year-olds should not be running a country, but it's fun to speculate on what could happen if this became reality. Now, the population of Beast Kingdom will be on the order of 200 million, making it the 6th largest country in the world by population ahead of Nigeria. Depending on when you're watching this ranking might look very different. The United States has 340 million, so Beast Kingdom has the potential to become a global superpower just from the sheer number of people. Among these 200 million, the average age will be around 14 years old, compared to the global average of 30.5 years. Obviously, Jimmy's audience is mostly kids, so this will make Beast Kingdom the youngest country in terms of age, right behind Niger's median age of 15.4 years. Despite the young population, however, Jimmy's country will have a lot of power. The most obvious way is through MrBeast's YouTube empire. Because of the massive population, he will be able to collect taxes and use it to fund his videos. If every person in the country pays only $10 per year, he can then raise $2 billion. This enormous amount is certainly unheard of even for MrBeast. If he uploads every week and reinvests the $2 billion back into his content, he will spend $38 million per video. And this is before including his YouTube revenue, so a bit over $40 million per video, which is insane. For reference, he only spends up to $4 million per video right now. So basically, his videos will become 10 times more insane. Aside from the fact that he's the first YouTuber king, the enormous amount of cash that he puts into his videos will certainly cause his growth to explode. Literally everyone around the world will know who MrBeast is. It's worth mentioning that although he will have basically total control over his country, he will still remain laser focused on creating the craziest videos in the entire world. He stated this many times, and no amount of wealth will cause him to abandon this mission. So even as the literal king, Jimmy will be on the grind, and who knows how many subscribers this will cause him to achieve. Outside of YouTube, he will ensure that his people will be living in the best country in the world. To ensure this, he will use much of the tax revenue for philanthropy. In fact, he can make videos out of doing good for his citizens and upload them to his Philanthropy channel. Videos like I fixed homelessness in my country or I paid every patient's medical bills could become reality by combining his YouTube money with his enormous tax revenue. And of course, his citizens will always have a chance at being in one of MrBeast's giveaway videos. The nation of Beast Kingdom will be incomplete without some pretty major changes. McDonald's and Burger Kings will be replaced by Beast Burgers. Much of the grocery stores will be rebranded as Beast Groceries, and all Hershey bars will be banned from the country in favor of the snack brand Feastables. The whole country will go through a rebrand to become more MrBeast themed. In some ways, the kingdom will also become somewhat of a tourist destination for other MrBeast fans to visit, which is definitely helpful for the economy as well. As it appears so far, Beast Kingdom sounds like a pretty fun place to live. But to make sure everything runs smoothly in the first place, we need a stable government. The goal is to make sure that this country can last a long time. even after MrBeast. So as a former state, it makes a lot of sense to model much of the government after the US. For instance, the American and North Carolinian state constitutions will be merged together to form the supreme law of the land, along with any modifications he might want to make, such as banning all Hershey's products. The rest of the laws will also be combined similarly. Government bodies like the North Carolina General Assembly will be preserved, although the physical buildings may have to move to the new capital, Greenville. In effect, Beast Kingdom will operate very similarly to how the state of North Carolina operates, with the caveat that MrBeast will be the permanent king and head of state, the equivalent of US President or North Carolina Governor. And sadly, although Jimmy is young, he is only human, so his time in Beast Kingdom is finite. To ensure continuity once he passes away, Beast Kingdom can transition into Beast Republic, with an elected president rather than a king. Forming a brand new government by taking inspiration from the US and North Carolina will be a long and challenging process. There are 200 million people whose lives are on the line, so building an entirely new country of this magnitude is no joke. As an inexperienced 25-year-old, there are plenty of opportunities for slip-ups. There's no way the nation will be perfect right off the bat. But what happens if MrBeast actually messes up? If people aren't satisfied with their experimental country, they're just going to abandon Jimmy. But worse yet, there may be attempts to dethrone him. In politically unstable nations, coups d'etats are pretty common, with the leader often being jailed or even killed. If people want North Carolina to be reabsorbed back into the US, getting rid of Jimmy is certainly one method. And with 200 million people, you're not going to satisfy everyone. But building the government isn't the only problem we face. The very young average age of about 14 will be a serious issue. Kids' parents who have not subscribed will be away from their children, so it's pretty unrealistic to assume that parents and children will remain separated. But if the parents also come, then the population will balloon to like 600 million. This is absolutely crazy. Remember, we're working with what is currently North Carolina, so things are going to get really crowded. The population density will be a whopping 11,100 people per square mile, putting Beast Kingdom as the third most densely populated country, right behind Singapore. I know we've been speculating about a truly crazy scenario, but what if I told you that this could, in theory, actually work out? Hear me out. MrBeast becomes governor of North Carolina and leaves the union to form his own country with the approval of the US government. Interestingly enough, this wouldn't be North Carolina's first time leaving the US, but this time around, there doesn't need to be any violence as long as most US politicians are die-hard MrBeast supporters. If that's the case, the government can approve of Jimmy's plan to form his own country. I know that leaving the US is not even allowed, but they could make an exception to Jimmy if everyone is obsessed with him. With this much influence, he might as well become US president, as I talked about in this video. But no, we want even more power, so we're looking at a king with pretty much OP permissions. What's crazy is that if Jimmy can get more states to join his country, what was formerly the US will turn into a MrBeast empire. This is only possible if MrBeast is a cult-like figure at this point. But before you know it, he will have created his own country from what used to be his home country, America. I'm not saying it's a good idea for one person to have unlimited power, but it's kind of a fun scenario to think about for someone like Jimmy. All things considered, if he were to ever become king, the world will be watching a YouTuber leading the greatest experiment of all time, with a possibility of his country becoming a global superpower.